G'day guys, welcome to my RxY's Vita video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about NRL Round 11 recap preview for 2020 guys. Let's get started. So starting off with this first match of that game, we see the Eels going up against the West Tigers. Now, this game was really alright by the West Tigers. They proved themselves in the first half. They were a really top-notch team. They were really good across the park, especially Harry Grant. Harry Grant was absolutely phenomenal. He just stood across the park every single time he gets the ball. And when he gets the ball, he's obviously really dangerous with the ball and just absolutely defeats anyone that sees him. But it was the 26 points to 16 scoreline. Well, I just have to think that this game was really like top-notch football, and I took the Eels by 10 points, and they obviously won 26-16. But I tell you, the Eels played phenomenal, and the first half was pretty scrappy, but since the first try led to Luciano Leilua, then it came to Maiko Sivo next into that game. But let's have a look at the Eels tries since I mentioned that anyway. We have Maiko Sivo that scored 2 tries, excellent work there. We have Regan Campbell-Gillard, Mitchell Moses and Sean Lane, so those 4 are from the Parramatta Eels anyway. And what we have here from the West Tigers, so we're going to analyse the tries. So what we have here is Luciano Leilua, David Norfoluma and Tommy Talau. Tommy Talau played a really good game in that match, and I think he's alright player that just brings to that form into that good quality games that he usually plays, but that's only if he does or doesn't really play anyway. So the Eels played a really good game in the second half. They really stood out into their momentum, but the first half was just a bit scrappy, and I just thought the Eels weren't going to win that game, but the West Tigers, I thought they were going to win. But then when it came to 12-6, I believe, in the half time, I thought to myself, are they going to win? But let's see in the second half what we have there in that spirit of that time. So then, apparently, the Parramatta Eels won that game, 26-16, and it was a spectacular match anyway. First try that I ever saw was Regan Campbell-Gillard, and I cannot believe he scored a try. He hasn't even scored a try ever since, so I just give you credit for that anyway. But my player of the match certainly goes to number 2. He obviously scored 2 tries, which was a double, and also he is number 2 from the Parramatta Eels, so it's Maiko Sivo. I just think he stood out for the game, and I think he deserves like a medal or something like that, because he's just absolutely a freak show out there, and I think he deserves a 1 anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Cowboys going up against the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, this game has proven a lot that Manly Sea Eagles are a really good team, but sometimes they do struggle a little bit with Tom Trbojevic and Dylan Walker out of because of the injury, and I think maybe next week that Dylan Walker might be coming back into the team anyway due to that injury, so we have to just wait and see for next week. But it was 24-12 scoreline, and I cannot believe that the Manly Sea Eagles proved that they want to win at this game, and they obviously did. But the Cowboys, though, I have to say the Cowboys need to spark a lot of like entertainment into like any other games, because this match was really like terrible for them and for the new coach that just supported them with Paul Green quitting for the Cowboys. Tell you, it's going to have a long run for the season, and I tell you, the Cowboys need to have that form if they want to win like games of football. But I took the Manly Sea Eagles by 14 points, and they obviously won that match. So let's have a look at the Cowboys tries anyway. So what we have here is Kyle Felt and Francis Molo. Goldfeld's proven a lot that he's a really good player. He stands out in the finisher of tries anyway. But let's have a look at the Manly Seagulls tries. So what we have here is Curtis Sirenin, Danny Levi, Daly Cherry Evans, and Cade Cust. So I think Cade Cust is really a good player. So is Daly Cherry Evans. Haven't really seen Danny Levi that often. He hasn't really scored tries, mainly a couple of times. But also too, Curtis Sirenin is a really good player also too. But my player of the game, I know that the Cowboys didn't really do that well, but I have to give them some credit. It went to number 2, Cole Felt from the Cowboys. I just think that he stood out for the game, and I really think that he did a well-deserving match for making a well-scoring finisher anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Broncos going up against the Melbourne Storm. Now, this game has really improved really well from the Melbourne Storm. I definitely see a lot of improvement needs to be from the Broncos. They are struggling a little bit with Darius Boyd. Anthony Milford was basically on the fullback side. Herbie Farnworth was a really good player too. But he's the one that only scored a try. But I have to tell you, he was just a really good player, though. And yeah, so like what I have to say is, the Melbourne Storm did alright, and I have to think that they are a really good team to spark that attack and a lot of abilities anyway. But I did tip the Melbourne Storm by 20 points, and I obviously won 46 points to 8. A massive scoreline that thrashed the Broncos by that much. But let's have a look at the tries anyway. So what we have here is Josh Adokar. He scored 2 tries. Jerome Hughes scored 2 tries. Kenneth Bromwich scored 1. Tino Fasila Malali scored 2 tries. And Ryan Pappenhausen scored 1. Not a lot there, but really big improvement by the Melbourne Storm. But for the Broncos, though, they need to have some attack if they want to have a really good win. But unfortunately, though, they are struggling a little bit, and they just need to find their form if they want to win games of football. But my player of the game is certainly for number 7. He just does it all every single time I see him. Jerome Hughes, number 7 from the Melbourne Storm anyway, and I just think he does a lot in there. He's a really good player that stands out for the Melbourne Storm, and I just think he does great for the club anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Warriors going up against the Roosters. Now, this game was alright, pretty average, pretty good, but it was definitely at Central Coast Stadium. And for that match, though, they played a really good sparking match. The Warriors are a really good team, but not enough to seal the deal to make that win, 18 points to 10. And I just think that for the Roosters are a really good team that just sparks that attack sometimes. But I went for the Roosters by 18 points, and they certainly won that match because I knew for a fact that the Roosters were going to win, and they obviously did. You got to think about the mind and obviously saying, oh, are they going to win or are they going to lose? But obviously, from my prediction, I tipped the Roosters and they obviously won anyway. So, let's have a look at the Warriors' tries anyway. So what we have here is Ken Mamalo and Elisa Katoa. Elisa Katoa is a new player that came from the Warriors anyway. He's a really good player that sparks that attack, and certainly Ken Mamalo, he's a real good player also too from the Warriors. But what we have here from the Roosters tries certainly was Sitili Tupanua. He's a really good player. Luke Keary and Joseph Manu. I haven't really seen Joseph Manu play really good football that much, but he certainly is a really good player also too. But Sitili Tupanua is an awesome player that is a new player. What I can say about that is he is a new player. He just came into the Roosters club anyway, but I just think he's gonna really improve if he's gonna like get tries after tries after tries, and I think he's going to have a great season for the club anyway. But my player of the game, certainly I have to give credit to this guy. I think it was number 2 or number 5, was Ken Mamalo from the New Zealand Warriors. And I tell you, he is an absolute freak of a player that just certainly scores any tries that he obviously sees. But it was 18 points to 10 from the Roosters. The scoreline, 18 points to 10, and I went for the Roosters by 18 points anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Sharks going up against the Dragons. Now, this game was certainly close, cigar, nothing like that, but really average football. I'll tell you, the Dragons, I thought to myself that they were going to win. But then again, the Sharks hold them off. They got a win by that much. Certainly by that much. But then, well done to the Sharks for obviously making the win anyway. 28 points to 24. Certainly a close game of football. But I had to think that the Dragons certainly put up a lot of fight, and they obviously did. But they didn't make a really good effort to obviously win that game anyway. But it did tip the Sharks by 6 points, and they certainly won that match. But let's have a look at the Sharks' tries anyway. So what we have here is Jack Williams, Sione Katoa, Sean Johnson, William Kennedy, and Aaron Woods. Let's have a look at the Dragons' tries. So what we have here is Tyrell Fuimaono. Zach Lomax scored 2 tries. Well done from him. And Michaeli Ravalawa. Michaeli Ravalawa is a really good player from the Dragons, and I think he's going to have a really good season for that club. But for Zach Lomax scoring 2 tries, really good effort, and I had to tell you, well done from you anyway. But Matt Duffy was certainly alright in that game. He just didn't really look entertaining into that match. But my player of the game in that game certainly went to number 4 from the Dragons, Zach Lomax, that scored 2 tries in that game. Well done from you, and I had to tell you, you're going to do great for the Dragons, and yeah, you're going to have a great season for the club. Anyway, but yeah, it was certainly a really good game anyway, and I hate to think that the Dragons really did really well, but for the Sharks, certainly did really well too. They stepped up the margin, and I think the Dragons did, but they didn't get enough points to seal the deal to make a win up against the Sharks anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Raiders going up against the Rabbitohs. Now, this game was certainly a real tight match. I think to myself, the Rabbitohs were going to win, but they need to win, and they are due for a win anyway. But they didn't get that win up against the Raiders because the Raiders are a great team. But then Chance Nickel-Klokstad got sent off by an injury, I think by his hand anyway. I'm not too sure about that. Which that means, for a spoiler, Jordan Rapana's coming in for the number 1 anyway to replace Chance Nickel-Klokstad and for that Raiders fullback anyway. But let's move on and see what's going on here. So, it was an 18 points to 12 scoreline. I tipped the Raiders by 8 points, and they certainly won only just by 1 try that sealed the deal. But anyway, let's have a look at the Raiders tries anyway. So what we have here is Nick Kotrick, Jared Kroger, and Semi Valimi. Semi Valimi is a real good player. Scored, well done from him. Certainly his first try to make his debut, I think a couple of weeks ago, I certainly believe. But yeah, well done from him anyway. He's certainly a great player that makes a real good move from the club anyway. Let's have a look at the Rabbitohs tries. So what we have here is Dane Gagai and Adam Reynolds. Adam Reynolds is a real good player also too, but he just doesn't really communicate really well that much with that club. But Dane Gagai is a real good player, but sometimes he doesn't get to that stage that he doesn't really score much tries. But anyway, my player of the game certainly went to this player. Number 2 was Semi Valimi. He is a real good player that just doesn't like doesn't disappoint me at all, and I just think he is a great player that certainly is going to have a great season for that club anyway. The next game of that match we said the Knights going up against the Bulldogs. Now, this game was certainly wet, muddy, slippery, and really terrible, really horrible to basically play in that wet weather. And I knew for a fact that it was wet weather football that was really difficult to make an effort for both clubs anyway. But for the Bulldogs, certainly a big change happened here. I cannot believe that the Bulldogs won this game up against the Newcastle Knights. I thought to myself that the Newcastle Knights were going to make this win. But unfortunately, the Bulldogs made an effort of winning this game 18 points to 12, the scoreline there. But I went for the Knights by 12 points, and they certainly lost by 1 try. Anyway, let's have a look at the Newcastle Knights tries anyway. So what we have here is Heimel Hunt and Sione Matalia. For the Bulldogs tries, let's have a look here. We certainly have Aiden Tolman, Raymond Fatala Mariner, and Jake Averillo. He was a really good player that stands out for the club. And my player of the game went to the guy that I just mentioned, Jake Averillo. He's a real good player that stands out for the club, and I just think he's going to have a great season for the club. And I reckon he's going to have a real good season for the club that just stands out every single game he plays for and against teams and stuff like that. But unfortunately, though, we are losing Connor Watson, Andrew McCulloch, and Sione Matalia to injuries. But Andrew McCulloch and Connor Watson are out for the season due to real bad injuries. But yeah, I cannot believe that. Obviously, the Bulldogs won that game, and I just was definitely surprised by winning that margin anyway. And last but certainly not least, we see the Titans going up against the Panthers. Now, this game was certainly a real tough match that didn't really execute very well. But the Titans really stand out in that match. Jamal Fogarty played a really good game, scored a 90-metre try that just really standed out for me. And I just thought when he was going to run with the ball and then obviously he's going to score, I thought Brent Name was going to come across and obviously grabbed him or tackled him or something like that, make an effort. But then he obviously made that try by that much anyway. But it was definitely 22 points to 14 scoreline. It was, and I tipped the Panthers by 24 points by a big margin. But it wasn't a big margin. It was a little margin anyway. But let's have a look at the Titans tries anyway. So what we have here is Jamal Fogarty, I just mentioned anyway. Brian Kelly and Anthony Don. Let's have a look at the Panthers tries anyway. So what we have here is Josh Mansour, Stephen Crichton, Isaiah Yeo, and Malachi Wateni-Selesniak. Wow. But my player of the game, when I just mentioned before, number 7 from the Titans, is Jamal Fogarty. He's a real good player that's standing out for the club. And I just think he's going to have a really good season for the Titans, and I reckon he will. If he's going to continue making tries, I reckon he's going to have a brilliant season for the club. And yeah, the Titans are a really good team, but they need to make an effort if they want to win a couple of games of football each time. But I just don't think they are a top 8 team anyway. That just doesn't improve that much against the Melbourne Storm or the Panthers or Rabbits or something like that. But I just don't think they are a top 8 side anyway. Thanks guys for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more. I will be doing a couple of videos coming to you guys soon. Also, I'll be doing more videos coming to you guys soon, so stay tuned for more. Plus, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and for this video. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, Take care, guys. Stay safe and have a good one. Plus, let's get up to 200 subscribers. We're sitting on 166 subscribers anyway. So let's get up to that. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.